Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's premium review in which we are taking a look at the French M.B.152C1 sitting at 2.3 battle rating in both realistic and arcade. This is the first reward plane for the festive event that we have this year, as we have it most winters. And this is quite an interesting plane. It has some upsides, it has some downsides. It's a free plane, so we can't complain too much, but it is not a spectacular performer in the flight style. It does have very nice cannons at an early battle rating, and yeah, like I said, it's a mixed plane. Some good sides, some bad sides. The maximum speed in the plane at sea level without web is 388 without web and 414 with web. At 4,500 meters, she'll go up to 374 without web and 390 with web. And finally, at 6,500 meters, she'll go up to 340 both with and without web. Web doesn't do anything anymore at that higher altitude. This plane is also best at 4,000 meters or lower. 4,500 meters is still acceptable, but above that the performance really starts to lag. But the best side of this plane is the top speed in a dive. So you actually need altitude for that, and I'll get into that in a sec. The top speed in a dive is 789 kilometers an hour before she redlines and 830 plus before she rips apart. Now, I've not managed to rip her before she crashed because the acceleration starts to become really bad at the higher speeds. That is the problem for this plane. The acceleration in a straight line is below average, and in a dive it starts decent, but then it drops off to atrocious. Let's say from 700 forward it becomes really bad, and then 740 onwards it's really atrocious. And you need a lot of altitude to get this plane to its red line. And for that, so you still need altitude in this plane, while it is not the best performer at higher altitudes. The control stiffening is good as well. It only starts very slightly at 600 kilometers an hour. The roll rate starts to become more severely punished at 700, but it still performs much better than most planes around this battle rating. So there is still a lot of opportunity as well in this plane in the dive and the high end of the dive to get your guns on target. And that is the best part of this plane. The handling in a dive and the top speed in a dive. The stall speed is very bad with 170 kilometers an hour. That is well, one of the worst I've seen at 2.3 battle rating. So yeah, and the vertical behavior is also not very good. The energy retention in the horizontal is below average to bad, and in the vertical it's very bad. And especially when you start rolling in the vertical, you lose a lot of speed, and it is best not used that way, but still sometimes you just have to make vertical maneuvers. Just be aware that you need a good energy advantage on the plane below you to have this succeed. So yeah, there is that. The firepower is good though. The plane runs with two 20mm Hispano 404 cannons with 60 rounds per gun, and this is supported by two 7.5mm Mach 1934 with 500 rounds per gun, two machine guns and two cannons. That's pretty good firepower. The ammo load is bad to decent, as I said, bad for the cannons and decent for the machine guns. This plane cannot be equipped with any bombs, so it's a pure fighter. It is. I used universal and stealth while I flew out, both very viable, and I used a 600 meter convergence. Now the climb rate in the plane also does not really support the vertical behavior. Of course, maneuvering with the N1K1 float plane is also not a good idea, especially not in the vertical. What I'm doing right now, I found this out pretty quickly, and I tried to extend. As you see here, he is really gaining on me, and in the next loop or two he would be behind me. So I'm dropping out. I'm saying goodbye. And I really thought that I would be extending right here without much trouble. We'll see if that happens. Like I said, the climb rate average, turn time in the plane is also average with flaps above average. The flaps rip off at 390 kilometers an hour, so that's pretty good. It is the top speed or the maximum speed in a straight line of the plane, so you'll only have troubles when you go into a dive and use the flaps, so you definitely want to avoid that. Now here we go. This guy is just gaining on me in a dive. I'm being out accelerated, out doven by a float plane. Now that tells you something about the shape of the straight or the dive acceleration of this plane. It is not spectacular, and on that float plane it apparently is much better. Unfortunately, and you do need a lot of altitude to make this plane get into its groove, let's say, because, well, the N1K is a very nice plane, of course, and it's pretty good for a float plane. But still, if a float plane can out accelerate you in a dive, that's not good. So the only thing I really can do here, as this guy can outmaneuver me and out accelerate me, is to run for the airfield, take cover, and get back in there. Try to repair the plane, get some new ammo in, and then see what we can do. So we're going to do that. As our team was blown apart, we only have a few bombers left. And although those are B-34s, which are, you know, good planes with forward-facing guns, I'm still the only fighter left, and probably the guy who needs to finish this match. So a little bit of evasive here with some rudder and some elevator maneuvers, or adjustments, let's say. That's an easy way to avoid shots. There's still a risk to being hit, but it's the best way to avoid shots easily, without losing too much speed, let's say. That is definitely a problem with this plane, losing speed. Well, this is such an energy-rich situation where I could easily go up and not be afraid to lose energy. Again, it's the Ju-88 in the vertical. I think we can still do this in this plane. Absolutely. Now, like I said, a turn time pretty slightly above average with the flaps. The roll rate is decent, and that stays decent in the dive, so the performance in a dive is really where this plane shines. But it is difficult to make use of that, as you do need altitude, and for that it needs side climbing, because the climb rate is only average. So you need to side climb a little bit, get yourself to altitude, make sure you're the highest plane, and from that position you can make this plane work in a boom and zoom capacity, or boom and run after that climb in a shallow climb, because going too much vertical will lose you too much energy and you won't regain the altitude that you lost with the speed you have. The overheating in this plane is very present. With web you easily overheat and quickly overheat the plane. It does also cool off pretty quickly though, so there is that, and that makes it acceptable and easily workable in the end, but it is still something you have to constantly manage. Durability in the plane is good. It can take a good bit of damage both on the wings and on the fuselage, especially the fuselage seems to be quite sturdy. So yeah, this plane at 2.3 battle rating is an enjoyable plane, but it does have the problem of the performance. It is not a very forgiving plane. If you make a mistake you quickly die, and most planes can take advantage of this plane either by outmaneuvering it or quickly out accelerating it and getting it. Of course, in the extended dive this plane will perform better than most, because it has an excellent top speed in a dive for this battle rating. And yeah, so it's a little bit of a mixed plane. I like my performance a little better usually in planes, but you can make this plane work, and it can be quite the beast when you work her from altitude as a boom and zoomer, and you're not too enthusiastic with your climb rate and your zoom after that. You keep that modest, you can extend from the enemy if he or she hasn't already died, because of course you do get 20mm rounds in this plane, 60 rounds per gun. It's quite devastating, so you do have the stopping power to finish planes off in a single pass, but that ammunition runs out pretty quickly. That's why this plane might be actually more suited for AB. The flight model is also slightly improved there. Of course, I almost run through the bullet stream of that enemy there. Quite busy on this little map here. I got a down tier, so I can say this was an easy match for this plane. And the firepower at this battle rating, there's a lot of people flying 1.7, 1.3 battle rating planes. But you do get that in this plane, these down tiers. And it's a beast here, and it definitely can be used for the French tree as a fantastic grinder if you if you play both realistic and arcade, or only arcade. This is a very good plane because of course you can reload in the air. It's quite sturdy, so it can take the damage, and it's a little bit more maneuverable, which is a quite deal more manageable in this plane than it is on biplanes, for example. The little bit of extra maneuverability that you gain in the flight model in AB. And this plane is, for me, this plane is made for AB. You have fantastic firepower that makes you compatible at both 3.3 and 1.3 battle rating. So on that whole range, this plane can perform in AB, and you can rack up massive kill counts even in short matches because of that. Just got to make sure that you reload in time, and that you're sharp on your surroundings, your situational awareness. But that can make you grind the French tree quite quickly in this plane. And of course you cannot go beyond tier 3. Tier 2 and tier 3 is quite effective, but tier 4 this plane gets penalties, and you'll need one of the tier 4 premiums for that. But with a couple of planes, then you can definitely get the French tree done in a short time. It is not the most full tree there is, so I could definitely recommend that plane for AB if you're looking for that. For RB, it's a different matter. I'm a little bit mixed for RB. This plane still is a decent plane that's all right, with firepower that is very good for this battle rating. But for the rest, you'll get outperformed by most planes you'll face. I mean, I'll take an example, the BF-109E1 2.0 battle rating will be one of your opponents with this plane, and that plane will eat you alive. Seriously, in the performance, that plane will eat you alive. It is impossible to get above that plane unless you side climb for 7-8 minutes and really wait until most people dive down on teammates and stuff, and then you are risking your team being quite reduced in numbers before you get and engage in the battle. Sometimes you just need to throw your lot into the mix before that to make sure that your team doesn't die. But yeah, against those good performing planes, it's gonna be difficult in this plane in realistic battle. Although, you can still have good matches if you make use of this plane in the situations where it is actually good. But of course, if you face other good pilots, then it's gonna be a problem getting the plane there. And that is the problem with this plane. It is not very forgiving in realistic battle, but much more in AB, and much more enjoyable in AB as well, as we are going for our 15th kill here, but just not quite managed it. This was actually our first AB match, so it was done immediately after this. So that was quite nice. Down tiers, this plane is good and strong in down tiers. Let's see, we've got only one special reward, Final Blow, 49,000 Silver Lions and almost 6,000 research points. I'll see you in the conclusion. Hey guys, so here we are after the match. Now I would say this is an alright plane. It is not the most spectacular plane you've ever seen, but it is a good earner for the French. It didn't have a tier 2 premium yet, the French line, so it definitely needed this thing. And it is absolutely brilliant in AB, I would say. Still a lot of planes that can beat this. Of course, when you get up tiered, it's going to be difficult in this plane. But the firepower is good at this battle rating. There's few planes with this firepower at a 2.3 battle rating, so that makes it ideal for AB. For RB, I find this plane to be a little more difficult, but still I went 9 kills in 4 games and only 1 death. So it was a good performance. Extensively tested the plane in test flights, and I have to say the performance is bad. Acceleration and energy retention definitely aren't good, and you're gonna have to rely on getting to altitude and using the very good top speed in a dive at this battle rating, and the handling in a dive, which is also quite good. Combined with the stopping power of this plane, good firepower with the cannons, you can really make this plane a boom and zoomer from hell from this plane. It can perform in that role, but you have to be careful, and you have to be careful in the vertical, not losing too much energy in vertical maneuvers. And if you do that, then this plane can perform for you, and it is a fun little plane to fly. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.